Les, take it away.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. Today I get to speak with you about something that I'm passionate about and something that we've been able to do in the Journey group since I started some 17 years ago. It's called the commencement. And what is the commencement? Well, if we go back to the Bible, we can see the commencement is really the Last Supper. If you look at the Last Supper, what did Jesus do? He met with his people, he broke bread, they washed feet, they did communion, and they said goodbye. And so what I'm going to share with you guys today is really the process that is what I do when I do the commencement ceremony. I usually do it at my house, and there's many of you on this screen that have been at my house when we've done commencement. In fact, I would ask, how many in this room have been at a commencement at my house? Yeah, okay. There's a couple here. So I love this part, okay? And I think it takes some really tremendous amount of thought on your part and to pull it off. What is it? It's simply what I'm gonna be doing with you today is a chance to show you guys just how to do it, how to get ready. And why am I doing it in March? Because this is when you need to get ready. The first thing I would encourage you guys to do, and Phil will put up my screen probably right now, is I want you to get with your co-guides, not at this moment, but sometime this week, and set the date for when your commencement is, so everyone should know. I can tell you right now that the date of my commencement for my Journey group is May the 2nd. It's a Tuesday. We're going to do it on the same day we normally meet. I feel if I can do it on the same day I normally meet, I'm going to get the largest attendance. They're used to coming on that day. So I just make it a longer period of time. They'll show up at my house at 5 o'clock and we'll be done at 10 o'clock. I will be giving you schedules here that you'll be able to take home with you and see, and it's all going to be on the screen. So I would ask you to tell your Journey group, once you set that date, to put it on their calendar and reserve it. You know, save the date. Start talking about it now so that all your groups there, they will be blessed more than you could ever know. We always like to say that when we start this process called the Journey, we have a mini retreat. And the mini retreat is what I think starts the group off to feel comfortable with one another, and they share their story at that mini retreat. And then what happens at the commencement is everyone wants to be there because they started at the beginning and went through that mini retreat together. So what's going to happen at this commencement? I'm going to ask you to make sure that you meet with your guides and you set responsibilities. That's your first thing. So many of you out here have not even done a commencement. So this is going to be extremely helpful to you, and you're going to want to know this. And like we said, it's going to be in the chat box here. But the first thing you have to do, set the date. The second thing you want to do is get with your co-guides. Okay, and what do? You set responsibilities. What is everyone going to do? And I have several things here, and I'm just going to read them off to you. The first thing you have to do is set who's going to be responsible for the food in the place. Who's going to cook? Who's going to do the meal? Okay, and that's important. So one of the co-guides will be responsible for that. So get that set. The next thing is someone needs to be getting the gift that you're going to give to each member of your group. They don't know they're going to get a gift, but you do. And you're going to decide what those gifts are. And I'm going to show you some of those gifts today. In fact, I'm just going to go to it right now. Why don't you pull it on screen for me, Phil? In my 17 years of doing this, I have given out a number of gifts. My favorite is this one right here. This is the Journey Guide. There's nothing written on this purposely. Okay. He's the one up in the left-hand corner. I'm going to pass it around to you guys that are in this room. How many of you in this room have this right here? Okay. Some of you have it. Okay. So I want you to look at it. The reason I love it is because it doesn't say anything on it. Why do I like that? Because when a man gets this, what does he do? He takes it to his office. He puts it on his desk, right? And men walk by that man's office or that woman's office and might say, "What's that?" Man, I got an open door right there to share with them about Jesus and my walk with God. And I got an open invitation to invite them. Where'd you get that? Well, I went to this commencement ceremony at the end of the year of us spending time together, and the leader of my group gave this to me. So that is my favorite, but that costs the most too. That's like $11. Okay. And you have to decide if you got 25 people in your group at $11, you know, you're $300 there. Okay. And then you also got to look at the food, because who pays for this commencement? The co-guides. You guys do. You cover the cost of it. Okay. You're giving it away to your people. So other gifts on here that I've given out, and I've given all these out. I've given the book, Compelled by Grace, down at the bottom. I've given the book away, Rocky's Most Lady book, which is that book that's called The Return. I've given a coin away, as you can see on the top right. I've given little keychains away that say faith or something on them. I've given a cross in the pocket. You can point to that one. It's just a reminder of what happened. The Bible talks about Ebenezer's. They put rocks together to remember something. This is simply something that you give to them that they're going to remember that particular day, that particular year. I can look at all these and I can almost, I'm not that good, but I almost can remember every year which one I got or which one I gave and the group I was with. You have to realize this is my 17th year, so I've had 17 journey groups and we've had 17 commencement ceremonies. So to me, it's something that's special that you give them. And so one of your co-guides should be responsible for that. Now, if you want these, I have these. You just have to tell me how many of them you want. If you want a really nice one on there, and some of you ladies may have gotten this, if you came to the dinner a couple weeks ago, supposedly at the host table, there was necklaces. Did anybody see those necklaces? Okay, that's another thing that's brand new that you ladies may want to give out to all your people. Okay, they're $11. It's an influencer, kind of a coin on the end of it, and it's got a nice chain that's silver. And then there's also a black rope that a guy could get. Okay, so it could be either way, but that's also available. I have some of those. Okay, so if you want those, you just let me know and I'll get them for you. The next thing that's on the thing to set up for each one of your co-guides is someone's got to be responsible for communicating and texting with the spouse. We send a note out, and I'm going to give you the note right here that I send, and I get a letter from every one of your spouses, and I simply ask them 3 questions. Do you have that question to pull up there? He'll get it here in just a second. In old days, I used to call every one of them, and I would answer on the phone and ask the woman at that time, because we didn't have ladies groups. I would simply ask, I just want to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to use you, Ken. Have you seen a change in your husband? The woman would usually say yes. What's the change? And I'm sitting there writing the whole time what they're saying. And then my third question I simply ask them is, hey, I'm going to be reading this in front of the rest of the guys in my group the night we do this commencement. What would you like to say to Chris? Those are my 3 questions. Have you seen a change? What's the change? And what would you like to say to your spouse, your husband? And know that I'm going to read this in front of 20 guys. In the girls' case, I'm going to read this in front of 20 women. What does that say? It tells the wife, I better make this good, right? I better say something that everyone's going to hear, they're going to read. And what it really does, I'm going to just tell you this is a secret here. It makes sure that dude is at the commencement. Because the wife says, hey, you're going. Why? Because she doesn't tell him, because she can't tell him I wrote something. No. That night's good. I got plans. You're going. And it makes sure that all your guys get there. So it's another kind of fun part of it. Another responsibility. So one of your guide members needs to take care of that part of it. The next thing is, and this is going to be a new one. I love this. We were just, Henry and I and Josh were just at a staff retreat. And at the staff retreat, they did this thing called F3. And I don't know how many of you know what F3 is, but F3 is a fitness program for Christians. Comes through the military. And they give everybody a name. Okay? And I like that idea. So I'm stealing it, and I'm just going to tell you now. It's not something you have to do, but I thought about what if one of the members of your group, I would say typically the main guide, what if he just gave everybody a name? And you say, like what? And I would say, I give you an example here, like Abe comes to my group. Abe, I've just given you this name as faithful. How about I give Mary the name, you've been vulnerable. That's my name for you. I just give everybody a name and I get to tell them why. All I'm doing is affirming them on their 9 months of spending time with me. And me as the, let's call it the guide, I'm sharing that, let's call it affirmation to them. And that name will probably be forgotten somewhere down the road, but for that season, it will mean something to them. And so just my thought, that's a new one. I haven't done that yet, but I plan on doing it this year. The next thing I would do is someone has to set up the communion and the foot washing. Assign one of your co-guides that they're going to do the communion. And we have to understand this about communion. I'll say this to all of you. When we do communion, you want to make sure that you offer it to them, that some of them may belong to a church that communion's only taken in their sanctuary, and say, that's okay. Would you be in prayer for the rest of us as we take? And just make that statement, okay? We want to make sure that we're not being offensive to any denomination that might be out there, okay? We're not going to fight over any of this stuff. We're going to honor what they do. And so here, when we take communion, the person who sets it up, I think the person, the co-guide that you give it to, sets up the communion, and they bring the goblet that you're going to take it out of, the bread, and have scripture ready to go behind it. The other thing I'm going to show you, I don't know if you can see this, but he's going to also be responsible for bringing the stuff to wash each other's feet. When I say each other's, I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably should have said when the guides and co-guides wash the first timers' feet. Okay. I don't know about you, but when I had my feet washed the very first time, I won't forget it, and your people won't forget it. And as you wash their feet, okay, I've learned a couple things. I'm 67. It's tough to be on the ground for that period of time. It's hard to get up, right? And so what I've learned is this: when I'm washing their feet, I want to look at them and pray for them. Your guides, your co-guides need to help you with this process. I suggest having 3 people there with you, co-guides, that one's drying their feet, one's washing the feet, and one's praying for the person. Okay, that makes it simple. It means it's not all on one person. Okay, now you say, well, wait a minute, I wanted to pray, and you might even with your co-guides determine, I want to wash Chris's feet. You know, I have a connection with Jeff over here. I want to make sure. And so you set up whose feet you're going to wash. Okay. And understand that that person whose feet you're washing, they have that same connection with you too. You've had over 9 months, some, let's call it time alone with them. And there's been some meaning in your relationship, and especially in your walk with Jesus. So I encourage you guys to think about that. What's it going to look like? So that's the part about the washing the feet and setting up with your group. The 4th thing I would say to you is start praying right now about what God is going to do for that night. Start praying that they would all attend. Start making it known to them that you're praying for them for that night. Make sure they put it on their calendar. I would encourage you that when you send whoever's in charge of sending out the letter to the spouse and asking them to fill it out, do it by text. You'll get it back much quicker. Remember, I told you years ago, I used to write it. Now the texting is so easy. Text it to the wife, text it to the spouse, and have them return it to you and give them a date. For example, I would say, April, would you please answer these questions, and would you send it back to me by March the 31st? Okay. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, the women will do that. They will honor that. You might have to call them on the 31st or text them, but they'll get it done. I don't know from the men's side how good they are. I haven't been on that side. I've been able to write my wife a letter, but girls, you might have to hunt the men down to get them to write it. But it's going to be one of the best parts of your night. My next point to you guys is meet with your co-guides right now. Okay. This is from Rocky. Rocky's material that he wrote to us. And if you're ever with him, he always talks about reproduction. I don't want to be involved in anything that doesn't reproduce. What does that mean? It means he wants to make sure that we're giving the gospel out in a way that whoever we've given it to is going to turn around and give it to the next person. So we don't do addition, we do multiplication. Okay, we continually give Jesus away. So how do we reproduce? I really think it's important for all of you to talk with your co-guides before you get there and talk about what's happening next year. Yes, start talking about that right now. Who in your group is going to split off? Who's going together? Who your co-guides are going to split and feel comfortable taking on another group and growing? Okay. Why is growing important? It's kingdom building, guys. That's what we're here for. It's a great commission. If we stay together all the time, we become the holy huddle. And I know groups that do that. And they're still together with the same size and the same number. And those guys are doing well with their walk with Jesus. They're growing, but they're not doing what God called us to do. And that's go make disciples and continue to make more disciples. So I encourage you to reproduce. So those are my 4 topics there that I give you. The next thing I want to talk to you about is just, Phil, I think I have a couple more screens to throw up there.
Yeah, the commencement order.
Yeah, give me the order. So how does this work? You let them know they're going to meet and you're going to talk to them about it's going to be longer. Okay, I'm just going to use the time frame I use. I asked my group to meet at 5 o'clock on Tuesday nights, and we're going to be done by 10. It's going to be 5 hours. And here's how it works. I'm giving you a timesheet here so you have something to go by. So you have an idea how long it takes. We break bread and eat for 40 minutes. At 5:45, we sit in a big circle. And I simply ask the guys, how did the journey impact you this year? That's going to take an hour. You're going to hear a lot. Okay. Don't think that you're going to get through this in a short period of time. God is working in your groups and the people will share. So it's a beautiful thing. The next thing you have is you're doing communion. Let's call it 6:45 to 7:05. You take communion. When you're done with communion, your next step, you have it on there. There you go. You move to washing feet. And I don't know specifically, Kyle or Mike, you may know this, the specific order that Jesus did this. I'm not positive of at the Last Supper, but this is the order we're doing it in. We wash feet. We have the person who's responsible bring that stuff out. 7:15 to 7:55. It is a pleasure to do this part. So the next thing is from 8 o'clock to 8:30. I ask you to put those people in a circle and walk around and you specifically pray over each one of them. What God's going to do in their life when they step out of that room. From 8:40 to 9:40, this is when we put the person in the middle of the room in a chair and everyone's circling around and you read to them their letter from their spouse. Now, here's a good question I always get asked. What if I didn't get a letter? What if he doesn't have a wife? Okay, what do? Okay, many times I will write one for that guy. I feel close enough to that person. I want to write it. I want to tell him my thoughts on what I've seen in that man. Another way, one of the most moving times I ever had, I had a daughter write one to dad. Mom and dad were split. Daughter wrote it. It crushed him. It crushed him. So it is very important that everyone gets something read. If you don't get something back from a wife, that will crush that man when he goes home. I heard all these letters. I didn't get one from you. That can't happen, and that's on us as guides. Okay, that's on us as guides. We either write that letter or we track her down to get something from her. Okay. And there'll be some ladies that aren't in a good way. It might be really short. So, you might want to add to it. This is what I feel. This is what I've seen. Because let's face it, the people that are in our groups, let's face it, we're all jacked up. We need a savior. We found the savior, okay? But there's still junk that's back there that tends to grab a hold of us. And so with husbands and wives, you never know what you're gonna get the day that you ask to provide it, okay? I don't care how good your marriage is, okay? I might have snored all night. My wife's not very happy with me that next morning, right? Something as small as that, and she's like, I gotta wait till tomorrow to write this, right? So that could happen. The last thing I do is, well, I mentioned to you, present the names. Okay, openly in front of the group, I would just walk around and I just state the name that I've given you. Tell them why you're doing it. Okay, I just want to encourage you, and I've given you the name Faithful. I've given you the name Encourager. I've given you the name Mr. Smile. Whatever that name might be, another way of encouraging them. Okay, what's your word for David over here?
The prophet David.
The prophet David. Yeah, here he is. I heard that name when I walked in. So that's good. Okay, then the last thing of the night, which is 10 to 10:15, you pull out your gift and you give each one this gift and you just say, thank you. Thank you for spending 9 months chasing Jesus with me. It's been an honor for me to be with you, to watch you grow in your faith and walk with Jesus. So thank them. And then at that point in time, you're all done. Now you want to say to them, guys, here's the co-guides and I have talked, and next year we're going to split up. Henry and I are going to take a group. Jeff and Mike are going to take a group. And Steve and David are going to take a group. We're going to ask you guys. They have some thoughts. We've all talked about this already. Steve and David would like John, you, and you to go with them. Would you consider doing that? Yeah, we will. Okay. And let's start inviting people today. So we do it at that commencement ceremony, but the co-guides have already talked about it and have already planned it. I, as let's call it the lead facilitator, I always let my guys pick who they want to take with them. Okay. They take whoever they want, become their co-guides going forward. And so I encourage you, this ministry is about reproducing more brothers and sisters that will grow to love Jesus with their whole heart and grow deeper in their walk and their faith with him. And we're the ones that get to be a part of that. Jesus has called us as part of his disciples to go and make disciples. Notice he didn't say stay. He didn't say stop. He said go. So that means leave in my book. Okay. One of the things that's been hard for me, and if I'm being real honest, for 17 years I've been doing this, and I've never been in the same group. And so I leave those people that I love. You know, we were in a group with you guys, Chris and Kendra are here. And the part I hate the most is I'm leaving people I love. But God has called me to go. He called Paul to leave Jerusalem and go to Thessalonica, to go to Philippi, and he kept moving. You and I wouldn't be here today as a follower of Jesus unless Paul did that. Okay, so we must do the same. So I think that's it. I got some questions for you to answer as you move. Let's throw those up on screen. And I'm sure I probably missed a couple of things, but thank you. Thank all of you for taking the call and answering yes. I'm going to guide a group and I'm going to pour into men and women with all I got. So my first question to you guys, I want you to think back. What was your fondest memory of any commencement ceremony that you've ever been to? So think about that. The guys I'm with here, think about that. We'll go to the next question. Question number 2. What commencement gift did you receive that you treasure the most and why? Now, all of you may not have gotten a gift. Not all groups do that because let's face it, there's some finances involved here. And if your group doesn't have the finances to do it, it's okay. These are just thoughts and ideas for you to do. Okay, the third one. The third question is, what was it like the first time in the journey when your guide washed your feet? Okay, my fourth question. Here we go. It's the toughest one. What day is your commencement schedule? Have you already put it on the calendar? I would suspect the answer is no. Okay, so Anyway, those are the questions. Thank you for, well, just letting me have this time with you guys. I love you all and have a great breakout group. Thanks, Phil.